desktop show for that.
Yes, it looks good.
Right. All right, I'm going to ask everyone a poll question. I want to learn a little bit more about what is important to you. And do any of these issues I'll be describing uh, apply to you? We'll ask a poll, and please answer everyone that applies to you. So do you live in a home that perhaps in the summer, the upstairs is very warm, or in the winter, it's very cold in another room? So uneven heating. Does that happen in your home? Perhaps you have a furnace that is old and noisy. It has been upgraded for many, many years. Or wintertime's coming. Do you dread opening that utility bill, given this is really the first initial cold weather that we've been having since the beginning of the year? Uh, or do you have perhaps someone in your household that has asthma or allergies? Or do you have maybe something like it's damp and moldy in some rooms or in some section of your house? Or maybe you're a new homeowner. You bought the house and nothing has been upgraded since the original owner. Everything's original for that. Or maybe I just want to save energy for that. So we're going to bring up a poll question for everyone. And please, if any of these apply to you, please check those boxes for that. And I guess we'll give it about a minute for people to answer. And then once hopefully we'll get a good sampling, and we'll take a look at that. All right, how do the voting look right now?
Good. Yeah, I think we have most of the participants answering. Maybe just a few more seconds and I'll go ahead and close it and share the results.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to end the poll.
All right, let's see. So roughly about 40% have issues with uneven heating in your home. Looks like that. Exactly half have an old furnace for that. This is actually a good time for this discussion about furnaces, given the cold weather. Yeah, about a third of you have high utility bills, and then let's see what we got. About another third have concerns with indoor air quality. Perhaps they have asthma, someone has asthma or some sort of underlying lung condition for that. And then let's see, a small percentage of you, about a fifth of you, have some issues with molds for that. And then about a third of you have homes that have had no upgrades for a while. And then I'm glad everyone's here to look at saving energy or carbon reduction for that. That's really the important thing. All right, so let's take a look at some of the things that are done with that. So thank you. Let's close the poll and let's move forward. So many of these things that you have described as problems, they all relate to something that's common problems in our homes. It could be something like a damp crawl space or moisture in the attic, a drafty room. Perhaps excessive dust in the home, or you might have, if you have an older home, you might have got condensation on your windows. With moisture, you got mold or mildew, or just old inefficient equipment. So let's take a look at how we can solve many of these issues. We call this home performance. It's sort of an approach to help making your home better. And the key underlying part of home performance is that we take what's called a holistic view of homes, that everything in the home is interrelated to each other. It's like your furnace has a duct system. If you just upgrade just the furnace, but you never touch the duct system, you're not getting the full benefit of that new furnace for that. So we look at the home holistically and look at all the systems, because they all interrelate to each other, that changing one thing affects the other, and that you want to understand the whole impact of any changes in your house. So all these problems that you described that you have, there are solutions for them, and they all have an impact on your whole house, whether it's what we call the envelope, which are essentially the walls and ceilings of your home, and everything that goes inside of it, all the equipment for that. So solutions that we'll talk about are air sealing, insulation, duct sealing, high efficiency heating and cooling, and also water heating for that. How well do you know your home? Have you ever taken a look in the attic or in the crawl space? Most people don't, but there are things in those locations that can impact your comfort. How is the insulation installed in your home? Do you have any insulation in there? Perhaps for those that have like allergies, are there pests like rodents in there, or perhaps you're dealing with dust mites for that? Perhaps the wiring has not been upgraded properly or been left exposed, which makes it a fire hazard for that. And then ductwork that delivers the warm air to your house in the winter and cool air if you have air conditioning in the summer. What is the condition of your ductwork? This is a picture of a duct run, and this is a duct joint where this is a wrapped fiberglass. That black band, that fiberglass is the same type of fiberglass that's used for your filters of your furnace. And it's black because it's been collecting dust leaking out of this duct system for many years. So that's heat that would normally be heating your house is now actually warming a crawl space or a basement, not your home itself. And we're all spending time at home now. With the pandemic, we're all spending a lot of time in our homes, and there's a concern more of indoor air quality from that. There was a study done in the late 1980s by the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA. That study revealed that indoor air quality in your home is typically 2 to 5 times worse than your typical outdoor air quality. So today, the air is pretty good. Indoor air quality is 2 to 5 times worse than what is considered typical outside air, which is considered the reference for indoor air for air quality for that. The exception, of course, is the wildfires. That changes the whole equation. But under normal days, normal air, the indoor air quality is considered worse than outside air. And that study also said that we spend 90% of our time in buildings. It's either at home, at work, or at school. Right now, it's pretty much all at home. And an important part of that study that they also revealed, and other things, is that children, they're more susceptible to indoor air quality issues. That they have a smaller body and their lungs are less developed. So the issues like excessive dust in the home impacts them. Perhaps the pests or excessive moisture. Do any of these have something that's going on in your home? So managing indoor air quality, this is only touching the very top of it. There's many more aspects of indoor air quality, but the few that are addressed through home improvements. One is what we call the home envelope, the ceilings in your walls. If you improve that, that improves your air quality of your home, but also improves your comfort at the same time. The other part is what contributes to poor indoor air quality. And these are mainly the appliances in your home, the gas appliances in your home. One of the big ones is, do you have a gas stovetop or gas oven? Those are direct appliances that combust gas directly in the air of your home. This is a contributor to poor indoor quality if you don't use your vent hood of your stove to vent out the cooking when you're cooking, or at least open a window. Natural draft water heaters. This is pretty much what everyone has in their home. When they first start up, there's a brief period of spillage, and if the vent wasn't designed properly, it could be putting the exhaust of the water heater into wherever the water heater is located. Is in a closet, is in your garage, or maybe in the kitchen of your home, based on the age of your house. And of course, old furnaces. If there's an issue with the heat exchanger, that could allow carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide, which is an odorless poison, into your home. So let's look at how some of the aspects of home improvement can improve the air quality as well. As I mentioned, the first one is air leakage. I sort of call this the secret sauce of home improvement, is that people don't understand how air leakage in a home can impact both the air quality as well as the comfort of your home. So if we look here in the image on the left, this is your typical house, and this is the space where people stay, in the middle part. But the spaces where you don't live, the attic, it's dusty. Perhaps you have a damp crawl space or a musty basement, or even an attached garage to your home. But the air quality in these locations are not considered good air quality because if you go in there and you smell musty, damp, you already know there's something wrong with the space. You want to flush the air out for that. So where you live, definitely it's important to air seal the connections to your attic, the ceiling, or anything that connects to the crawl space, because where do the plumbing pipes go? The sewer pipes go down through the floor and into the basement or crawl space if you have that. Those spaces are considered less desirable. And even your garage. What do you put in your garage? Do you park your car? Do you store chemicals in your garage? Those areas have poor air quality in your typical house. So you definitely want to air seal your house from those spaces. And then the other ones, which is based more on comfort, is air that leaks through a door or window. So for me, when it looks to indoor quality and performance of the home, you want to seal the ceiling of your house and anything that connects to the crawl space, even through the walls for that. So air sealing is an important part of air quality of your home and the comfort. And then you consider the outside walls when it's, for instance, when it's wildfire season and you had your wall doors and windows closed, but you smell the smoke coming into the house. Those are the leaks from outside leaking into your home for that. So understanding air leakage where you apply that air sealing is an important part of the overall comfort and efficiency of your home. And with air sealing, insulation is also an important part. That is the thermal layer. That's what holds the warmth in your home. That is the insulation in poor condition. So for instance here, this picture here, is the insulation even in contact with the floor or the wall? Or perhaps in your attic, there is no insulation up there at all. It's not doing anything to hold the heat in your home. What you want is an even layer of insulation after you have a good air barrier so that it's evenly applied across the whole surface. That is what will make your home more comfortable. In fact, air sealing and insulation go together. They're complementary to each other. Think of insulation as a sweater. It keeps you warm, but if you ever stepped outside like today and it's just a little draft of wind, you can feel it go right through the sweater. How do you stop that from losing heat? You put a windbreaker over that sweater. That is what will help keep you warmer. So same thing with insulation in your home. It's that sweater wrapping your house, but you need to protect it from air movement. So air leaks from that. So air seal and insulate together is an important thing for not only indoor air quality, but also the comfort in your home. Another important part of your house, the duct system. What delivers the heat during the winter and the cold air, if you have air conditioning, during the summer. Over here on the left, what's the condition of your ducts? It's funny, people have this thing called duct tape. It was never designed for ducts, it turns out. You have to use a product that's either a metal tape or what they would call a mastic, which you'll see over here. It's like a white, very thick paint type product. That's the proper way to seal ducts today. So do you have poorly connected ducts? Mentioned before, duct leakage, either leaking out the conditioned air. The proper way is to seal those ducts. What's interesting is the California Energy Commission did a study on California homes, and they found, both new and old, they found the average home leaked 30% in their duct system. So can you imagine, for every dollar of heated air that you pay for, 30 cents of that is heating the crawl space or the attic, not your home. So 30% duct leakage is the average in California. So that's something really to consider about your duct system. Ventilation, not directly related to home comfort, but it's an important part of indoor air quality. In your bathroom, do you have a bathroom fan? Or in the kitchen, do you have the stove that vents outside? Those two rooms, bathroom because you take showers in there, it just generates a lot of steam. In the kitchen, you're cooking a lot. So there's the water from the boiling process. There's the oils from cooking or sauteing. All those are things that get into the air of the home, and you want to get those out. So using these ventilation fans and using them when you need it, when you take the shower, when you're cooking, even just after you turn off the burner, it's still going to be generating some of that steam. You want to vent it out for a period of time. So that's an important part of indoor air quality. Use these devices that are in your home. If you don't have them, at least open a window. This picture here on the right, that's mold right against the wall. What's happening here? Not directly related to ventilation, but there is a relationship to this. This wall is an exterior wall. It's not insulated, and this couch was right up against the wall. What happens here is that because this couch was blocking any warm air from to the wall, moisture collected back here. And when you have moisture, you get mold. Think of this as like you take a can of soda out of the fridge. What happens after a few minutes? You get water droplets on the outside of that can of soda. And that's what happens to cold surfaces in your home. So a single pane window, an uninsulated wall. If it's cold and there's humidity in the air, it's just a chance of mold buildup on that or moisture and then eventually mold. In this situation, because the couch was blocking any warm air from heating up this uninsulated wall, they got moisture and with that mold growth. An important thing to think about molds. Mold needs 3 conditions of growth. Think of it like a tripod. It needs a food source. So that's anything organic. It can be clothing, it could be materials, paper, dust. Second, it needs the right temperatures to grow. And unfortunately, molds have a very wide temperature range to grow. They grow most efficiently in our human comfort range, which is 65 to 78. So they love to grow in that temperature. In fact, if you have leftover foods in your refrigerator, and what happens after 3 or 4 weeks and you leave it in the back of the refrigerator? You get mold growth, right? And that's pretty cold in the refrigerator. It's only if you freeze, literally at 0, that you don't get mold growth. And we don't want to live in that condition. And then lastly, molds need moisture to grow. And of those 3, which one can we control? They'll eat anything organic. They grow at a very wide temperature range and moisture. Of those 3, the one that we can control, have most control over, is the moisture that's in our home. And that's measured through using a hygrometer. So basically a weather station. Checks temperature, checks what we call relative humidity. If you have this issue with mold, think about how those surfaces are perhaps colder and how those can be warmed up. It could be insulation. It could also be managing the moisture in your home. One is recognizing some of these things that's happening here. And then down here, this is a crawl space. The crawl spaces can be a source of moisture into our homes. This is a dirt crawl space. Many homes that have that in San Mateo area. And this is what's called a vapor barrier that's been added afterwards to seal the moisture down into the crawl space. And I want to tell you a story. My aunt, she lives in Redwood City, and in her home, she has a dirt crawl space that was constantly damp, and her children always had allergy issues. So part of the diagnosis of her home that we learned was that there's excessive moisture in her crawl space. And because of that high humidity, it got itself into the home. The ultimate solution we did is part of what we did was air sealing the house and adding a vapor barrier. And that vapor barrier prevented the crawl space from getting damp or high humidity, which then kept the house drier. And the end result of that was a more comfortable home, a drier home from that process, and less allergic flare-ups for her children for that. So that was the end result of doing that. And this is San Mateo County. There's all different climate zones. There's on the coast side, if you're at Half Moon Bay area, you got coastal damp weather. If you live more on the bay side, you've got some parts like of Redwood City, Redwood Shores, that's very close to the water, and that you're dealing with a high water table that can introduce moisture into the home. Or that. So one is understanding some aspects of this, of your home, and what's impacting the comfort and the health of your home. All right, let's move forward then into the other appliances in your home. And these are ones that probably you have in your home. You may have what's called a natural draft style water heater. You can tell by a metal vent pipe. Right here, this is where exhaust can potentially spill into the home during the first period of when this water heater turns on to heat up water. And then if the vent pipe is poorly designed, I've tested homes where there is, literally exhaust spilling into the space of where this water heater is located. And that is carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitric oxide, so all these different byproducts that's just not good for the air quality of your home. And of course, an old furnace for that. These are things that you probably have in your typical home. And there are solutions for improving this. One of the paths is electrification, is changing these appliances away from natural gas. There are now efficient products on the market to consider as part of this path of improving the air quality and efficiency of your home. This is a picture here of a heat pump water heater. This is what's called a ductless mini split as a way of heating and cooling your home. And then BayREN is actually offering rebates for replacing some other gas appliances in your home. If you have a gas stovetop, we have a rebate available for induction stove cooking. This is not your resistive electric stove, but induction cooking is a very efficient, quick way of cooking foods now for that. So an induction stovetop. Perhaps you have a gas clothes dryer. There is now a heat pump clothes dryer, which is very efficient at drying clothes for that. So let's take a look at some of these newer technologies that can help the efficiency and air quality of your home.
Time check. Tony, you have about 5 minutes for
Okay,
your
great.
presentation.
All right, so for heat pump water heaters, these are 3 to 4 times more efficient than an electric water heater. And you have a heat pump in your home, actually. The way the heat pump water heater works is that it extracts the warm air out of the space and heats up the water. The refrigerator in your kitchen, that is a heat pump also, but it's taking the heat out of the refrigerator and adding it to your kitchen. So it's making your refrigerator very cold. For a heat pump water heater, it takes the heat out of the air and heats up the water. And then the output is a cooler and dehumidified air for that. So that's a heat pump water heater. For heating systems, this is very new, but this is an option perhaps, is that it has, especially if you have something like a wall furnace, there is an outside compressor unit, but then there's indoor head units that will output heat and cool air if necessary for that. And there are ceiling units, wall units, and low floor units available for that. So there's a heat pump, ductless mini split heat pumps that are available for heating and cooling homes now. So how do you get started? We have the Home Plus program. So BayREN Home Plus has several parts of it that can help you. We have on our website, we have an online evaluation where you can get a free energy efficiency kit. So this is something you can get now for that. We have energy advising. We have cash rebates that can be offered by our participating contractors. For the energy efficiency kit, if you go to bayrenresidential.org and you take the online survey and share your utility data so that we can help analyze your energy usage, you can get free LED light bulbs, a smart power strip for your television, and water-saving devices like a low-flow shower head and aerator. The energy advisors, call them for any questions you have. They're here to help provide information. They are technical experts on the program and can help you determine what contractors to reach out to if you have any particular issues that we checked in earlier for that. So they can also analyze that energy savings when you share utility data and help you find out where to make improvements to your home if you don't know where to get started. Briefly, our participating contractors, they're here to help do the installation and apply for the rebates for you that we offer through the program. They're trained in building science to understand many things we just talked about earlier, like good air sealing, the proper appliances, proper improvements to your home. And that they handle all aspects of submitting for rebates. So let's take a look at a couple of sample of rebates for that. So we go to the BayREN webpage. You can sign up for the energy efficiency kit. And if one of the advisors, if you can post the link to the measures list on the chat box, there's a whole range of rebates available to you. But let's look at a couple of these that could be you could perhaps apply to your home. And the key thing is these will be installed by a participating contractor, and they would submit for rebates for you. So let's look at 2 sample projects for it. This is one where we're doing an insulation improvement. You get $1,000. It's 75 cents a square foot up to $1,000. So this will maximize for 1,500 square. Will maximize the insulation rebate. Remember I talked about the duct leakage. We have a duct measure saying that if you can reduce it to 5% with duct replacement, there's $800 rebates. So that's only 5 cents of every dollar lost to duct leakage. Upgrading your heating system. You can upgrade to a heat pump now if you have the right equipment to be replaced. We can give you up to $1,000 incentive for that. A combustion safety test is to help check and make sure all your gas appliances are safely operating in your home if you have them. And this is a bonus at the end of our program. We had a jumpstart program that normally by doing a heating measure, cooling measure with insulation, we normally give you a $500 bonus. But until the end of next month, so you have 1 month from now, if you are ready to do an insulation and a heating or cooling improvement to your home, we have an extra $1,000 added right now for doing a combined insulation project with a heating or cooling measure. So the potential rebate available is $4,450. Another aspect, perhaps you have an air conditioning system that's wearing out, and that typically the air conditioning portion wears out sooner than the heating portion of most systems. So perhaps you need to be upgrading your air conditioning unit. Do we have an $800 rebate for upgrading to a high efficiency air conditioner? Of course, if you're upgrading your air conditioner, you want to fix the ducts, so replace them and upgrade another $800. And then also we have a heat pump water heater. So if you are replacing an electric one or you want to switch away from a gas one to an electric heat pump, there is $1,000 available from the BayREN Home Plus program. And I'll just give you a note, but later on when Carlos talks about some programs from Peninsula Clean Energy, he has something that actually will be very complementary to a heat pump water heater for that. So I'll let him talk about that when it gets to his section. But just for Home Plus, there is $2,750 potentially available to you if you upgrade your air conditioning and your heat pump water heater. And then lastly, I'll just mention on the measures, if you have a gas stovetop and you want to get away from a gas stovetop because when you cook with a gas, you get things like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitric oxides, and aldehydes. These are air pollutants that come into your home when you turn on a gas stove or gas oven. These are indoor air quality issues. And they found with a study with children, most children that had allergy or asthma conditions lived in homes that had gas appliances. That was a strong correlation between the two. So getting rid of a gas stovetop or gas oven, there's a rebate if you switch to an induction stovetop. And then a gas dryer, we have $300 if you replace it with a heat pump clothes dryer. All right. On financing, quickly. Different ways you can pay for these improvements. There's the traditional put it on your credit card and get points. Perhaps you have an equity line of credit. So these are your traditional ways of paying for improvements, especially if you want to do multiple together. There are two products available to you that are what we call green loan products. One is called the Residential Energy Efficiency Loan, or REAL. Through many of our participant contractors offer it. I think there's a green credit card. It's based on your credit score, and it can be applied toward energy efficiency projects. So this is one way to finance, very similar to your credit card. It's based on your credit score. The other is called PACE, Property Assisted Clean Energy. This is based on the equity of your home, and it's done through an assessment through your property tax bill. So it's just like a loan product, but it's paid through your property tax bill. So it's added onto your property tax on the payments for it. But it's another way to finance green projects or even solar for your home. On complementary programs, just want to talk about Home Energy Score. This is another BayREN program that's there to support you, that if you want to know more about your home, Home Energy Score essentially scores your home on a scale of 1 to 10. If you get a 10, you have great, your home is pretty good condition. If it's 5 or less and you're uncomfortable, that indicates problems in your home that you probably need to get some sort of upgrade or improvement to your home. But even a great score, like if you get an 8, but you're still uncomfortable in your home, there's probably some other underlying condition that needs to be looked at for that. But the Home Energy Score is a great way, especially if you don't know much about homes, to get a quick understanding of what's going on. And so if you go to homescoreca.org, you can look up for different assessors, and there's a $200 rebate available to help discount getting a home energy score. The last program I'm going to talk about is, this is from a program on the East Bay called the Rising Sun. They do two programs. One is they help people transition into the construction industry through apprenticeships called Opportunity Build. The other is called Climate Careers. This is a program for our youth, high school students that are interested in getting into the green industry from that. The program they run is called the Greenhouse Calls. The way it used to work, others pre-pandemic, is that they would come into home with a, come in, look at your home, help install energy efficiency things like light bulbs, smart power strips, and then they help you follow up to education of how to find ways to improve your home. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, the program had to change a little. It's now based pretty much done everything through calls or online. There's an online survey you complete, or you can call on the phone, and they have Spanish speakers available. You get a free energy efficiency kit sent to you, very similar to the one that we offer through the website and the BayREN residential, and then follow up to help you with that. And this is the link to their program, risingsunop.org, programs GHE, Greenhouse Calls, for that. So how do we get started with this? We have an advising service, and we have a few advisors here today, Kimberly and Danny. If you have questions, they might answer it on the Q&A for you, but you can call us right after this webinar, 866-878-6008. You can call and talk to an advisor. You can go to the BayREN residential website to look up more on the program. You can help use our contractor, find a contractor tool. Under the resources tab, you can look at the project measures list of the rebates available through our program. And with that, I'm going to pass off the baton to the next person.
Thank you, Tony. That was a great presentation. I especially keep remembering your analogy with the sweater and the windbreaker, and that kind of helps me think about the building envelope. And so thank you. And attendees will be sending out the slides to you at following the workshop. So you'll get this information shortly. So now we can turn it over to Cynthia with San Mateo County Health. Cynthia, are you there, and can you share your presentation? Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna move Cynthia to panelist. Okay, Cynthia, let me know if that works for you.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Great. Thank you.
I lost VPN for a while, and so I had checked out.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Sure. I'm going to share my screen. So good morning. So do you see strictly my presentation, or do you see the notes as well?
We see the notes. So if you could toggle up to the display settings and do the present, or do the
okay
at the top
here.
Yeah, I think on the left, at least I'm seeing it on the left, display settings.
I see my presentation. Okay. Let's see. So
Yeah,
good
there we
morning.
go.
Yeah.
That looks good.
Great. Good morning, everyone. My name is Cynthia Knowles. I am the Healthy Homes Program Coordinator at San Mateo County Environmental Health. And I work primarily with families in multi-unit buildings. And I reach out to families on a regular basis through community, through home visits and community workshops. And I address substandard housing issues, and most of the issues that I address, that I encounter with multi-unit families are pests and mold. So I'm going to focus on that today. And I'm going to try to be as brief as possible. Thank you, Tony, for that very articulate and thorough, detailed background. Basically, what I'm going to show you is conditions that I have observed and some of the problems and some of the solutions. So let's start with mold and moisture. So we heard some very good information from Tony and how moisture can intrude into a building. So here's what I'll call the 4 questions. What is mold? How does it grow? How can mold affect us? And what causes mold? So first I have a poll, and that is, do any of the participants have mold issues or damp areas in their home?
I just launched the poll. All right, I think most have voted, so I'll give it a couple more seconds. All right, I'll share the poll results.
Okay, all right. So some have and some haven't, but a majority looks like have. So I'll ask the question, what is mold? What is mold? Mold is, and Tony gave us some background, but mold spores really are generated from decaying vegetation. And so we can't necessarily avoid mold spores. They are in the air, and they aren't necessarily harmful until they meet a wet, humid surface. So how does it grow? Tony gave us some background on that. It needs a nutrient source, such as any organic matter, wood, cotton, linen, leather, vegetation. And it needs that moisture in the air. And when you combine that nutrient source and the moisture, and you have excess moisture, mold can grow. So how can mold affect us? Mold can affect us, can cause respiratory issues. If someone is susceptible to reactions to certain allergens, sometimes mold can cause an allergy. It can actually cause new asthma. It can trigger an asthma attack. But generally, it isn't something that everyone is affected by, but some people can be allergic to it. And it can cause respiratory issues when mold is in high count. But it's not something that we don't need to be concerned about counting mold spores, because when you see mold, you know that you have it and you have to address the source. But it doesn't necessarily, because if you see something that's black, it's black mold and it can kill you. That is not something that you need to be overly concerned about. The Department of Public Health the California Department of Public Health does not advise that we measure mold spores in the air or the types of mold. We need to address the source and get to the bottom of it. And really, what causes mold? Well, what causes mold is excessive moisture. So here's a little bit more information about the adverse health effects. As Tony mentioned, the optimum relative humidity in a home measured by the hygrometer is between 40 and 60%. And so anything outside of that range, say a lower percent humidity or a higher relative humidity, can cause health problems. And I usually focus on families that have respiratory issues, asthma, and sinus issues. And so you can see on the right side of the graph, certain bacteria, if relative humidity is above 60% or 70%, you start seeing the growth of bacteria, viruses, fungi, which is the mold and the mildew. And you can see allergic rhinitis and asthma. I many times work with families that have increased asthma episodes because of mold. So let's get back to what causes mold: moisture. I will briefly show you some examples. We'll just look at drips and leaks, condensation, what's happening in your kitchen and your bathroom, and Tony really already went over crawl spaces, so I think that's sufficient. We'll just look at some examples here. On the left is an example of what was a faulty downspout that caused a leak inside a home. So it's hard to see on the left side, but the floor had to be torn out. In the middle is a lack of water flow underneath a home. This was a single family home. And on the right, you can see that there was this issue was the scalloped nature of this mold was the result of a faulty gutter. So next we have some sources of moisture would be when condensation or just vapor intrusion. So the photo on the left is actually wall sweating, where there was absolutely no furniture up against the wall. There was nothing pushed up against the wall. It was below a window. And so moisture can intrude when you have warmer air on the inside up against a colder exterior wall, for example. And if there is no insulation, generally you're going to have mold, you may have mold, especially if there's furniture or appliances pushed up against the wall, which is the middle picture. That's just the backside of a piece of furniture that was pushed up against the wall, and excess lack of airflow, lack of ventilation, and the high humidity caused the mold. And on the right side is, that is a bedroom that had mold stains on this wood, and there was a lack of ventilation and potentially moisture intrusion by just what I'm describing, where you have this warm air on the inside and cooler air on the outside. When that warm air meets that cool surface, that's when the condensation and generating excess moisture, allowing mold to grow. So let's look at a little bit of condensation. When we just, by the act of breathing, cooking, bathing, when that warm air on the inside, that generates moisture. And when we have that greater amount of warm air on the inside meeting that cold air on the outside, that you can have condensation. And it's not just on windows, as I mentioned, it was on the wall that was actually sweating. And on the right side is a bathroom with a wooden ceiling that has no ventilation whatsoever, no window and no fan. So here's another example of a window that has condensation. And on the right side is it's a small example, but you can see how, when there's a lack of insulation and you have excess moisture on the interior, generating that warmer air, meeting that cooler exterior wall, that is an example of an exterior wall, but on the inside, and there was mold stains all around this, on the two exterior walls in this bedroom.
Thanks, Cynthia. Just maybe move towards a wrap up in the next minute or two. Thanks so much.
Okay, so we need to increase ventilation, get that airflow increasing. Don't worry about losing heat. Increasing the airflow for 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day is fine. You really are, you need that air exchange. Increase your airflow. Don't be afraid to use the heat. Many families are. Consider a dehumidifier. Try not to dry clothing indoors. Dry any wet surfaces. Very important to dry any wet surface, especially those windows and those sweating walls. We're going to move on to pests, and I'm going to go really quick. How about pests? And that's the second part. Has anyone observed pests in their home?
Okay, I see most respondents.
Okay.
Just another moment. All right, I'll close out the poll.
Great. Okay. Well, I'm more than happy to answer your questions about any kind of pest, but let's go through this very quickly. What's very important, there's 4 questions again. What's very important to ask yourself is, where are the pests hiding? Get to know their patterns. Survival, why are the pests there? How do the pests enter? And how can we keep them out? So, advance. Integrated pest management is really just a function of safer pest control without sole dependence on the use of pesticides. So we're looking at treating the cause and not the symptoms. We're looking at why are they surviving? Is there food? Is there moisture? Where are they hanging out? Where are they harboring? And how do they get in? So where do they hang out? They're in cabinets, appliances, around showers, tubs, and toilets where there's high moisture. And they're also in the exterior of your home as well. Let's look at where they're hanging out. They're cozy at the inn. This is a picture of, 99% of my home visits, I find that majority of the cockroaches are right around the motor of the refrigerator, behind and under the fridge. So those flecks, those specks that you see on the left side, those are cockroach droppings, which is frass, and that is an allergen. That is an allergen. On the right side, it's difficult to see, but you can see the egg casing. This is under an old refrigerator. So they're taking refuge there, so you need to get in and clean that area. The roach droppings, incidentally, the juvenile roaches can feed them. The roach droppings of the adults are nutrition for the juvenile roaches. So that's why we need to get the frass cleaned up. Where do they hang out? They're hanging out in the cupboards. These are pictures of also in the hinges of cabinets and cabinet drawers on the right side. That's the frass is the indication. Why are they there? Food sources, moisture, clutters, where they can take refuge, and also used appliances. We've got food. All of these photos are from home visits. And so it's very important to containerize your food safely, whether in the refrigerator or in plastic containers. Plastic bags won't protect you. Moisture attracts rodents and cockroaches. We've got leaky drain pipes. We have leaky or malfunctioning garbage disposals that cause moisture and attract pests. On the right side is just an example of a sink counter seal that has become deteriorated, and that causes the stains you see. That can cause stains and heavy moisture underneath your kitchen sink, where a lot of pests love to hang out because it's dark and it's warm. Also, how are they getting in? They're getting in through behind sinks and cabinets. Well, actually, the stove is where they're hanging out. The baseboards and around any gaps around your shower and the tub and the toilet. So on the left is just a remodel where a cabinet, a cutout was used to, or the outlet was cut out of the cabinet, but it wasn't sealed up. In the center is just an electrical outlet. Roaches love to come hang out behind the outlet and also come in through. And on the right side is a new remodel of a cabinet that is poorly installed or poorly built, and it's got an opening, it's got a gap where roaches can easily access. So IPM is prevention. We need to keep it clean, keep it clutter-free as best as you can, ventilate, use your fans while you're bathing and cooking, get that air flowing, keep it dry. Don't push any furniture or appliances up against the wall. That's where you're decreasing airflow and moisture is increasing. And you need to practice pest exclusion. So you got to seal them out. So here's an example of a clean area behind a refrigerator. Get behind that fridge. Keep it clean by using least toxic cleaning products, which we can talk about in the future. I generally don't advise the use of bleach for attacking mold or any kind of for cleaning, since it emits a chlorine gas. And I rely on diluted vinegar, hydrogen peroxide, liquid soap, baking soda. Just reduce clutter and containerize as much as you can. These are examples of families that decluttered their closets, had rodents running around in the closets, and high moisture. On the right side is a family that was heavily affected by rodents, but containerized and controlled the problem. Here's just an example of some pest exclusion on the utility, the water utility connections don't have an escutcheon plate over them. The escutcheon plate, the example of the escutcheon plate is in the middle, but on the left and the right side where the utility connections are, the water lines are, you can see a backing rod with some silicone caulking and then an escutcheon plate on top to complete that process. And then the outlet down below is not cut out, but it has a plate and it's secure. On the right side, you can see an example of a backing rod and some caulking that has sealed that gap.
Thanks, Cynthia. I think we'll kind of have to move on to the next presentation, just
okay.
Making sure, yeah, the next speaker can present, but I'll put my email address in the chat, and any attendees can follow up with me if they have to drop off. I can connect you with any of the presenters today, and also this kind of the presentations will be recorded, so I'll also leave a link to our YouTube page where it will be posted and kind of share the content and where you can revisit the content. So I think I'll go ahead and pass it over to Carlos with Peninsula Clean Energy, and I'll actually be sharing, forwarding the slides. So.
Great. Perfect. Well, thanks everyone for taking time out of your Friday morning to learn about these topics. And thanks Denise and to BayREN for putting on this presentation. So a little bit hard to segue from cockroach droppings, but I'm going to try my best. My name's Carlos. I'm a community outreach specialist with Peninsula Clean Energy. We're going to mainly cover two things today. One is a quick introduction on who Peninsula Clean Energy is, kind of a big, broad overview of what we do. And then second, there's lots of ways for you to save money on electric products right now. And we have rebates that range from electric cars to portable backup batteries and heat pump water heater program that's coming next year. Thank you. Okay, so we were launched in 2016 with the goal of reducing carbon emissions and to expand access to sustainable and affordable energy. If you can move forward. Great. And the way it works is we all know PG&E. PG&E, they own the power lines and they distribute the energy. What we do is we work on the back end. So we come up with the electricity sources. We sign long-term contracts with solar, wind, other vendors. So we decide what the sources of energy are. PG&E delivers that energy. And for you, there's no change. The only thing you'll see now is that there's a line item that says Peninsula Clean Energy. But basically, what we do is PG&E used to do everything. They used to do the generation and the delivery. Now they only do the delivery. Continue. Great. So real quick, this is, people ask us all the time, where does our energy come from exactly? Everyone receives a mailer in the mail with exactly what our sources of energy are. Continue. Great. Now residents have choices for where they get their energy. Everyone is automatically defaulted into the Eco Plus product that we offer, which is 50% renewable energy, 95% carbon free. Plus, it's actually less expensive than what PG&E was offering. You also have the choice of either going 100% fully renewable, and you can do that on our website. You just indicate that you're interested, and it's about $4 more per month for the average customer, or you can opt out and go back to PG&E if you choose to. Okay, so the other thing about us is we're a public agency, so we don't have any shareholders, so we reinvest all of our earnings into public programs. And some of those programs are, these are the three ones we're mainly concentrating on. One is transportation, so we're offering rebates for new and used EVs. We're offering free test drives for weekend rentals, which I'll talk about in a sec. Then there's resiliency, which is mainly about, we're having all these shutoffs due to the PSPS events or fires or any number of reasons. So being able to still have power on and not rely so much on the traditional grid is something we're working on as well. And the last thing is moving to all electric buildings, whether that's through REACH codes, which is trying to, which are code standards in order to achieve that cities are going through right now to go through all electric buildings or more electric buildings, I should say, and also offering the training for contractors to do that as well. Okay, we'll just skip right past this one. Okay, so bottom line numbers, $18 million is what we expect to combine annual savings for all the customers in San Mateo County. In terms of the greenhouse gas emissions, it's estimated 144,000 metric tons are saved, which is the equivalent of removing 30,000 cars from the road for a year. Okay, and yeah, more bottom line numbers, 18 million annual savings. And we have a goal of 300 megawatts of additional new renewable energy projects. So we are signing new contracts for solar places, for example, Wright Solar in Merced County, that's specifically for San Mateo County residents. Okay, moving on to our programs. Tony had touched on this a bit, but we are going to be offering a heat pump water heater program, which is expected to launch on January 1st, 2021. So there's a lot of benefits with this. Bottom line numbers is we're expecting about $1,000 rebate, which is not set in stone. It could actually be higher. But that's just a straight rebate for the water heater. We're also offering incentives if there's any kind of upgrades that you need for installation or panel upgrades if they're required on top of that. And we're partnering with BayREN Home Plus program that they already have existing. So it's going to be as smooth as, we're trying to make it as smooth as we can. So it's a single application. You can layer incentives on top of that, and you'll have access to the energy advisors and participating contractor network. Okay, so this is EV incentives. We have lots of EV incentives. The first one is EV test drives. So we want to give people an opportunity to test drive what an electric car is even like. So we're offering EV rebate rental of up to $200, which is about, depending on the EV, you choose 2 to 3 nights of an EV. And this can apply anywhere. So whether it's Enterprise or Turo, you can check out an EV for 2 nights. And on our website, we have a form for you to get a rebate for that. Second, we have rebate for new electric vehicle purchases. So it's basically up to $700 for, sorry, those numbers are reversed. So it's up to $700 for a plug-in hybrid and $1,000 for an all-electric car. And that is time sensitive. So that ends at the end of the year. Plus, you must be a first-time EV buyer in order to apply. And the last one is a used EV rebate. So right now, that's an income qualifying program. So your income has to be up to, it's approximately $100,000 for a family of 4. But we have that information on our website. And if you apply, you can get up to $4,000. And again, you can stack that. There's other rebates that we have on our website as well that you can stack that on top of. Okay, last thing, energy resiliency. So as I mentioned, we want to have people be able to still access power if there is a shutoff. So the 2 main programs, one is for homeowners. So if you go through our vendor, which is Sunrun, they're offering a $1,250 rebate on solar plus storage systems. The question we get all the time is, what if I already have solar and I just want to focus on storage? Right now, they do not have a program just for storage, but that will be coming in the next year. And the second program is for renters and for income qualifying homeowners. So this is for any renter or if your income is up to a certain amount and you're a homeowner. So what we're offering there is that if you apply for that and you live in a high fire threat district, so this is, think of this like Montera, Pescadero, Half Moon Bay. If you live out there and you're a renter or income qualifying homeowner, we are offering a free portable backup battery. So this is a portable backup battery that's about $3,000. It's the a Yeti battery, and this can power medical devices for one night to up to multiple nights depending on what the program is. And for this one, if you even have like a CPAP machine, that would you'd be eligible for that program as well. Great. Well, thank you. Really appreciate everyone.